Canadian military chopper buzzed by Chinese fighter jets. This is the Great White North Report.
I'm in love with the system. Never going home. I'm in love.
So Canadian Forces' second run-in with Chinese Air Force this past month, involving a Canadian military helicopter operating in the South China Sea, had another close encounter of the unfriendly kind with Chinese fighter jets. This happens a lot. The United States goes through this a lot. This time it was one of our CH-148 Cyclones attached to the HMCS Ottawa. It was buzzed by two People's Liberation Army Air Force J-11s on Sunday. It was conducting a routine training exercise when it was intercepted. When I talk South China Sea, mainly it was probably closer to the Philippines and Taiwan, somewhere in that region. The department said the first pass by Chinese fighters was deemed safe, while two succeeding passes were not safe. They were close enough for the helicopter to experience turbulence and take appropriate actions to remain safe. Chinese do this regularly, playing a game of chicken, and one day it's going to bite them in the ass. Something bad's going to happen. Either they're going to cause an accident which is going to result in the death of either the Chinese pilot or, let's say, a Canadian or US pilot. Or someone's going to get a little trigger happy, feel threatened enough that they're going to fire and cause an escalation. China at this moment does not want that. But they don't want to seem weak, and so they're taking aggressive actions. Later the same day, during a second story, the same helicopter was again intercepted by another J-11 fighter aircraft, which launched flares directly in front of the Canadian helicopter. See, they were launching flares. That's almost an act of war. That's not being friendly or just, keeping us doing something. They're really pressing, and they know they can get away with it, the Canadians, because we haven't got anything that can hit back. Not with a cyclone. The pilot had to maneuver to avoid the flares and reduce the risk of ingesting a flare inside the helicopter's rotors or intakes. It was deemed unsafe. Actions of the Chinese pilots were brash, aggressive, in this case unsafe, especially when it came to the use of flares. Of course, they're trying to show off, show how good they are. When really, real war, because they don't really have any real wartime experience, they're going to get their asses handed to them by the United States, which is a lot of trained pilots. Canada could be like that. So earlier we had a C-140 Aurora patrol plane operating in international airspace, conducting a patrol to enforce United Nations sanctions against North Korea. Was also intercepted in an unsafe manner. This happened October 16th over the East China Sea, and it was well recorded. Of course, we launched complaints against the Chinese embassy, and nothing ever happens. Of course, the Chinese Ministry of National Defense said the Canadian helicopter's actions in the area were malicious, provocative, and an ulterior motive. It accused the Canadian military helicopter of violating Chinese and international laws. First of all, Chinese and international laws are not something that go hand in hand. So that is, of course, a bullshit statement from the Chinese, as always. Which brings me to the next thing. So now the FBO is stating that the F-35 fighter jets to cost Canada nearly $74 billion. Now this is very misleading because it's $74 billion over its lifetime. The first 4 of 88 aircraft to be purchased expected to arrive in 2026. Had we stayed on board when Harper signed off on this deal, had we stayed on that track, we would have already had them. Trudeau canceled the deal, then went back to the deal after years of delaying. Now we get the reason why. So owning and operating a fleet of F-35s over the next 4.5 decades is expected to cost Canadian taxpayers as much as $73.9 billion. Had we done this back when Harper signed off on the deal before and Trudeau canceled it, it would be a lot less due to inflation. And also, if our currency ever picks up, it'll be less. That's the thing they forget to mention. That also depends on how well the currency exchange is when it comes to buying these things and maintaining them. A stronger dollar gives more purchasing power to us. So we need to take delivery of the aircraft on schedule, and the airplanes need to be flown within the limits that defense planners expect. Otherwise, the lifetime price tag will be higher. So in a war zone, they wear out faster. If it's just flown like peacefully during peacetime, not a big deal. So we get 4 in 2026. Deliveries will increase to the maximum of 18 per year in 2029. The final is expected in 2032. So we're looking at 9 years from now before we get them all. By that time, the next generation will already be out. Every time there's a delay in the delivery, it increases the cost by about $400 million. Or a 2-year slippage and increase the cost by about $700 million. So it's important that we keep these going. It'll cost us more in the long run if we do not take delivery. Because we don't have as many obligations to the U.S., we'll fly less, will translate into lower maintenance and fuel costs over the lifetime of the aircraft, which is true. And knowing us, we'll probably keep these for the next 7 decades. And here we go. The new estimate is a far cry from the original projection as presented 13 years ago. It said buying and operating the aircraft would cost $29 billion over a 20-year period. Which is probably right back then. Inflation has made a huge increase in these things. Trudeau pledged to buy a cheaper alternative. When Trudeau took over in 2015, he promised not to buy the aircraft and pledged to buy a cheaper alternative and put the savings back into revitalizing Canada's Navy. The process is still outgoing. Which means he did a complete 360 and went with this aircraft, which was more expensive. Liberals just cost us a lot more money. So why do I bring this up? Well, because it's newsworthy and also because it goes hand in hand with this. The problem is all our frigates only have helicopters, which are no match against fighter jets in an all-out war. There's no speed and maneuverability is all on the side of the jet fighter. It would be a sitting duck to a fighter jet. Canada needs a light aircraft carrier, which would be great. So bring back the Bonnie maybe. Or at least have some kind of destroyer with our fleet out there. So something to think about. Having the F-35 would definitely be a game changer if we had a place where we could land it, ready for use to help our fleet patrol international waters. But until we do get some muscle into our military, the Chinese are going to continue playing these games with us, and they don't care. We're just Canadians. We're a lower class country to them. We're a resource country to them, a tributary country. I can think of dozens of ways to hit back at them. But my government's not going to do it. Anyway, any Canadians out there, let me know what you guys think of the Chinese games they play with us. And the F-35 fighter jets. Leave comments in the comment section. Hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.
I'm in love